The universe doesn't punish, it teaches, and some lessons are so important to your soul's evolution that they can only be delivered in the language of pain. Pain isn't always the villain, it's often the doorway. A doorway into a deeper layer of truth, one that your ego might resist but your soul has long been calling for. When you first entered this realm, you came with amnesia, not the kind that medical science can diagnose, but the sacred, forgetting that every soul must endure to make this human experience authentic. You forgot your divine nature, your limitless power, your connection to source. This wasn't a mistake, it was necessary. And when you agreed to this life, yes, agreed, you made a contract. Not the kind signed in ink, but the kind sealed in energy. A soul contract, an invisible agreement made before you chose certain people, certain heartbreaks, even certain betrayals, not because you're weak, but because you came to remember who you truly are. Sometimes remembering requires forgetting first. Forgetting your worth, forgetting your voice, forgetting your divinity. Only so that when you do remember, it'll be through your own earned wisdom, not just handed down beliefs. This is the sacred paradox of human existence. Most people don't realize this fundamental truth. When something goes wrong, when you're rejected, when someone dies, when you're betrayed, your first instinct is to say, "Why me?" You search for blame, you search for reasons. You think the world is cruel, or you think you're cursed. But what if the pain wasn't random? What if the pain was an initiation? What if your soul agreed to this exact life path, with all its joy and all its suffering, because somewhere deep down, you knew pain would be the only teacher strong enough to break through your illusions? Soul contracts aren't punishments. They're sacred agreements designed to lead you to your destiny. They're the curriculum your soul chose for this lifetime's education. And like any profound education, they require you to be stretched, challenged, and sometimes broken open. When we talk about soul contracts, we're talking about spiritual blueprints, not scripts where everything is predetermined, but outlines, energetic commitments. Before you came into this body, you existed in a realm of pure consciousness, where you could see the full tapestry of possibilities. You knew Earth was a realm of duality, light and shadow, loss and love, growth and grief, joy and sorrow, creation and destruction. And still, you said yes. You said yes to the risk, yes to the mess, yes to the mirror. Because Earth isn't easy, but it's potent. In the spiritual realm, nothing evolves your consciousness faster than being thrown into the furnace of human emotion. The intensity of physical existence, with its limitations and challenges, creates a pressure cooker for soul growth that cannot be replicated in any other dimension. Think of it this way. If you wanted to learn to swim, you wouldn't read about it in a library forever. Eventually, you'd have to get in the water. Earth is the water for soul evolution. It's messy, sometimes dangerous, often uncomfortable, but it's where real growth happens. Some people come into your life to teach you unconditional love. These are the ones who see past your flaws, who love you through your darkness, who remind you of your inherent worth. They're gifts from the universe, showing you what love looks like in action. Others come to mirror back your wounds. They trigger your deepest insecurities, activate your oldest patterns, and force you to confront parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. These relationships are harder to appreciate, but they're equally sacred. Some come as soulmates, those rare connections where recognition is instant and profound. These souls have journeyed with you through multiple lifetimes, playing different roles, but always supporting your growth. The connection transcends the physical and touches something eternal. Some enter as karmic debt souls with whom you have unfinished business from previous. These relationships often feel intense, complicated, and difficult to break free from. They carry the energy of what needs to be healed, forgiven, or completed. And some don't come to stay, they come to shake you, to dismantle you, to burn everything false. These are the catalysts, the ones who enter your life like spiritual earthquakes, changing everything in their wake. They leave you different than they found you. This isn't spiritual punishment, it's spiritual surgery. It cuts deep, but it cuts with purpose. Every incision is precisely placed to remove what no longer serves and to awaken what has been dormant. Pain isn't the opposite of love. It's part of love's evolution, because when the heart breaks, it doesn't close. It opens wider than you ever thought possible. The broken heart becomes the open heart, capable of holding more compassion, more wisdom, more grace. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate." This is the cornerstone of soul contracts. That which you don't understand will feel like chaos, but that which you've remembered through shadow work, through self-awareness, begins to feel sacred. Your pain stops feeling like a curse and starts feeling like a message, a divine memo from your higher self. And often, it's the same message repeating. Wake up, let go, remember. The universe is constantly sending you signals, but you have to learn its language. That toxic relationship you couldn't escape. It wasn't random, it mirrored an old pattern you agreed to break. Perhaps it reflected the way you abandon yourself, or how you give your power away, or the wounds around self-worth that needed healing. The abandonment you felt as a child. It wasn't fair, but it was foundational. It cracked your identity open, giving your soul space to expand beyond the limitations of conditional love. It taught you to find wholeness within yourself, rather than seeking it from others. The loss that ripped your world apart, it taught you the impermanence of this realm and the eternity of the soul. It showed you that love transcends physical form, and that connection exists beyond the boundaries of life and death. These weren't easy lessons, but they were sacred ones. They were the curriculum your soul chose, because it knew these experiences would catalyze the growth you came here to achieve. You don't attract pain because you're broken. You attract pain because your soul is brave enough to grow, and growth never comes without resistance. The caterpillar must dissolve completely before it can become a butterfly. The seed must crack open before it can sprout. Every spiritual teacher, every sage, every prophet you've ever admired, none of them reached that light without walking through darkness. Their wisdom was earned through wounds. Their strength was forged in silence. Their compassion was born from their own suffering. Buddha found enlightenment only after witnessing the four sides of suffering. Jesus' greatest teachings came through his crucifixion. Rumi wrote his most profound poetry after losing his beloved teacher. Your story is no different. You are in a classroom, not a courtroom. Life is a teacher, not a sentence. But the ego doesn't want that understanding. The ego wants comfort. The ego wants answers. The ego wants someone to blame. The ego thrives on victimhood because it gives a sense of identity, even if that identity is built on suffering. That's why soul contracts are hard to accept, because they require radical responsibility. They require you to stop saying, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What is this here to teach me?" They require you to stop judging your pain and start listening to it, because pain is sacred data. It carries information no comfort ever could. It shows you where you're still attached, where you're still asleep, where you're still playing small. It's your soul's way of saying, this isn't who you really are. When you begin to awaken to this truth, your entire vibration shifts. You stop chasing love because you remember you are love. You stop begging for closure because you understand that closure comes from within. You stop attaching your worth to who stayed or who hurt you. Instead, you begin to embody your soul. You begin to trust the process. You begin to see that some doors had to close because your higher self slammed them shut. You recognize that your soul has better judgment than your ego ever could. You begin to accept that the betrayal had to happen because your soul needed freedom more than familiarity. Sometimes we stay in situations that are slowly killing our spirits simply because they're known. The betrayal becomes the push we needed to finally honor ourselves. The beautiful irony of soul contracts is that the people who hurt you most are often the ones your soul loves the most. On the soul level, before incarnation, they agreed to play a difficult role, to act out pain, so that you could remember your power. Think of it like a cosmic theater production. Before the show begins, the actors discuss their roles. One says, "I'll play the villain in your story so you can discover your strength." Another says, "I'll abandon you so you can learn to rely on yourself." These are acts of love, not cruelty. They agreed to trigger your insecurities so that you'd finally heal them, to show you your patterns so you could break them, to mirror your wounds so you could transform them. This is the ultimate sacrifice, to take on the role of causing pain for the sake of another's growth. This doesn't mean you excuse abuse or stay in harmful relationships. On the contrary, it means you thank the lesson, then rise above it. You integrate the shadow. You break the cycle. You evolve. You can be grateful for the teaching without remaining in the situation. Understanding soul contracts doesn't mean becoming a doormat or tolerating mistreatment. It means developing the wisdom to see the gift within the pain, while having the strength to remove yourself from harmful dynamics. Your soul contract is not fate written in stone, it's an invitation written in energy. It invites you to reclaim your wholeness. It invites you to heal generational patterns. It invites you to transcend the survival self and step into the sovereign self. And you always have a choice. That's what free will means. You can choose resentment, or you can choose growth. You can choose the story of victimhood, or you can choose the story of victory. Not because it's easy, but because it's sacred. Some soul contracts end early when the lesson is learned quickly and integrated. The people involved in these contracts might have brief but profound interactions that change the trajectory of their lives forever. A stranger's kind words, a chance encounter, a book that falls into your hands at the perfect moment. Some contracts drag on because the lesson hasn't been learned yet. These are the relationships and situations that feel stuck, repetitive, the same patterns playing out over and over until finally breakthrough occurs and the contract can be completed. Some evolve into lifelong partnerships of growth and purpose. These souls agree to journey together for extended periods, supporting each other's evolution through different phases of life. They might be spouses, friends, family members, or spiritual teachers who remain connected across decades. But all of them, even the most painful ones, are mirrors. They show you what still needs love. They show you what you've outgrown. They show you what you forgot. Pain isn't the enemy, it's the revealer. It pulls back the curtain on illusions you've been living with. As you awaken, you begin to feel the difference between various types of connections, between karmic cycles and soul alignment, between ego desires and divine purpose, between people who comfort your wounds and people who challenge your healing. you start to recognize the energy signatures of different souls. Some feel familiar from the first meeting, others feel challenging but necessary. Some feel peaceful and nurturing, others feel electric and transformative. Each serves a purpose in your soul's evolution. The ones who stay aren't always the ones you're meant to evolve with. Sometimes comfort becomes complacency. Sometimes the people who never challenge you also never help you grow. Love isn't always about staying, sometimes it's about knowing when to let go. Sometimes the ones who leave are doing you the greatest service of all. They're making space for what's truly meant for you. They're ending a chapter that needed to close so a new one could begin. Their departure is an act of love, even if it doesn't feel like it at the time. And sometimes your higher self is the one doing the leaving, long before your ego catches up. You might find yourself inexplicably losing interest in relationships, jobs, or situations that once seemed important. This is your soul preparing for the next phase of your journey. Your intuition starts pulling you in new directions before your logical mind understands why. You might feel restless in situations that should make you happy. This isn't your soul is calling you toward your next level of growth. Pain teaches many things. It teaches resilience, how to bend without breaking. It teaches compassion, how your own suffering opens your heart to others' pain. It teaches presence, how crisis strips away everything non-essential and brings you into the now. It teaches surrender, how control is often an illusion, and how peace comes from accepting what is. It teaches strength, how you're capable of surviving what you thought would destroy you. It teaches wisdom, how experience becomes understanding through reflection. But pain also transforms. When you honor your soul contract, your pain becomes your path. Your wound becomes your wisdom. Your suffering becomes your strength. And suddenly, your life makes sense. Not because it's perfect, but because it's purposeful. Not because it's painless, but because it's powerful. Every challenge you've faced has contributed to who you are today. Every heartbreak has expanded your capacity for love. Every loss has taught you what truly matters. And that, perhaps, is the greatest secret of all. The universe never abandoned you. It initiated you, it prepared you, it loved you enough to let you break. Because only in the breaking could you truly awaken to your infinite nature. The breaking isn't punishment, it's preparation. Like a geode that must be cracked open to reveal the crystals within. Your soul sometimes needs to be split apart to show its true beauty. The pressure that threatens to crush you is actually creating diamonds. When you understand this, everything changes. You stop running from difficulty and start learning from it. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances and start recognizing yourself as a powerful co-creator of your experience. You begin to see that every person who has ever hurt you was actually working for your soul's highest good, even if they didn't know it consciously. They were playing their role in your awakening story, helping you shed layers of false identity to reveal your true self. This understanding brings a profound peace. Not the peace of having everything go your way, but the peace of knowing that everything is working out for your highest good, even when you can't see how. Especially when you can't see how, you start to trust the process of your life in a new way. You understand that your soul chose this exact combination of challenges and gifts, relationships and losses, because it knew this specific mix would create the perfect conditions for your awakening. You realize that there are no accidents, no mistakes, no wrong turns. There are only experiences designed to teach you what you need to know. Every person you've met, every place you've lived, every job you've had, and it was perfectly orchestrated by your soul's wisdom. This doesn't mean everything that happens is meant to be permanent. It means everything that happens is meant to teach you something. Once the lesson is learned, the situation can change. Once the pattern is broken, new possibilities open up. Your job isn't to suffer endlessly or to stay in situations that harm you. Your job is to extract the wisdom from every experience and then use that wisdom to create something better. To transform your pain into purpose, your struggles into strength, your wounds into wisdom. You begin to see that spiritual growth isn't about transcending your humanity, it's about fully embracing it. It's about loving yourself through the messiness, the mistakes, the moments of darkness. It's about finding the sacred within the ordinary. You understand that enlightenment isn't a destination you reach, but a perspective you embody. It's not about becoming perfect, it's about becoming whole. It's not about never experiencing pain, it's about relating to pain differently. When you align with your soul contractor, you stop taking things personally. You understand that other people's behavior is about their own soul journey, not about your worth. You can have compassion for their struggle without absorbing their energy. You develop what the mystics call divine detachment, the ability to love without clinging, to care without controlling, to engage without losing yourself. You can be fully present in relationships while maintaining your center and your truth. This doesn't make you cold or if anything, it makes you more loving because you're loving from a place of wholeness rather than need. You're sharing your light rather than seeking it from others. You're offering your gifts rather than trying to get something in return. You start to recognize the difference between unconditional love and attachment. Attachment says, I love you because you make me happy. Unconditional love says, I love you regardless of what you do or don't do for me. This is the love your soul came here to learn and express. As you embody this understanding, you'll become a different kind of presence in the world. People sense something different about you, a groundedness, a peace, an acceptance that's rare in this world. You become a living example of what's possible when someone aligns with their soul's purpose. Your very existence becomes a form of service. Without preaching or teaching, you demonstrate that it's possible to find meaning in suffering, growth in challenges, and love in the midst of loss. You become a beacon for others who are struggling to make sense of their own pain. You understand that your personal healing contributes to the collective healing of humanity. Every pattern you break, every wound you heal, every limiting belief you transcend, it all ripples out and makes it easier for others to do the same. This is part of your soul contract to not just heal yourself, but to make healing more accessible for those who come after you. To be an ancestor future generations will thank for doing the inner work that broke the chains of unconscious suffering. You realize that your pain was never just about you. It was about all the people you'd be able to help because you learned to transform suffering into wisdom. Your struggles become your credentials for helping others through their own dark nights of the soul. You understand why your soul chose such a challenging path. It knew that easy lives create comfortable people, but difficult lives create wise people. It knew that your unique combination of challenges would give you a specific type of wisdom that the world needs. Your scars become your credentials. Your struggles become your strength. Your pain becomes your pathway to purpose. You stop asking why bad things happen to you and start asking how you can use those experiences to serve something greater than yourself. This shift from why me to how can I use this is the moment you step into your power as a conscious co-creator of your reality. You stop being at the mercy of circumstances and start being a force for transformation within whatever circumstances arise. You develop an unshakable trust in life's intelligence. Even when things look chaotic on the surface, you sense the deeper order underneath. You know that your soul's GPS is working perfectly, even when you can't see the destination. You begin to live with a sense of curiosity rather than fear about what's coming next. You know that whatever shows up will be exactly what you need for your next level of growth. This doesn't mean you'll always like it, but you'll trust it. You start to make decisions from your soul's wisdom rather than your ego's fears. You choose paths that align with your authentic self rather than paths that seem safe or socially acceptable. You trust your inner guidance more than external opinions. You become more selective about how you spend your energy. You understand that your time and attention are sacred resources that should be invested in alignment with your soul's purpose. You say no to what doesn't serve your highest good. You stop trying to be everything to everyone and start being authentically yourself to the right people. You understand that your job isn't to be universally liked, it's to be genuinely helpful to those you're meant to serve. You develop the courage to disappoint people when necessary to stay true to yourself. You understand that people-pleasing is a form of self-abandonment, and that you can't truly serve others from an empty or inauthentic place. You learn to find peace in uncertainty. You understand that not knowing what's coming next isn't a problem to be solved, it's a space for possibility to emerge. You become comfortable with the mystery of existence. You stop trying to control outcomes and start focusing on being the best version of yourself in each moment. You trust that when you align with your highest self, the right outcomes will naturally unfold. You develop what could be called spiritual confidence, a deep knowing that you're exactly where you need to be, learning exactly what you need to learn, becoming exactly who you're meant to become. This confidence isn't arrogant, it's grounded in trust and life's wisdom. You understand that your soul contract isn't just about your personal growth, it's about your contribution to the evolution of consciousness on this planet. Every person who awakens makes it easier for others to awaken. Every healing creates a template for more healing. You see your life as part of a much larger story, the story of humanity's spiritual event. Your individual journey matters not just for your own sake, but for the sake of all beings. Your healing helps heal the collective human trauma that has been passed down for generations. You realize that you chose to incarnate at this specific time in history, because your unique gifts are needed for the transition humanity is going through. You're not here by accident, you're here on assignment from your soul. This understanding fills you with a sense of purpose that transcends personal happiness. While you still care about your own well, you're motivated by something larger, the desire to fulfill your soul's mission and contribute to the greater good. You stop looking for your purpose out there and start recognizing that your purpose is woven into every experience you've had. Your purpose isn't separate from your pain, it often emerges from it. Your greatest wounds often become your greatest gifts to the world. You understand that mastery isn't about perfection, it's about integration. It's about weaving all aspects of your experience, light and shadow, joy and sorrow, strength and vulnerability into a coherent whole. You develop the ability to hold paradox without needing to resolve it. You can be grateful for your challenges while still preferring that they hadn't happened. You can love someone while also needing to maintain boundaries with them. You'll become comfortable with complexity. You understand that simple answers rarely do justice to complex situations. You develop the wisdom to hold multiple truths simultaneously without needing everything to fit into neat categories. You stop looking for someone to blame for your pain and start looking for the wisdom within it. You understand that blame is often just a way of avoiding responsibility for your own healing and growth. You develop true forgiveness not as a way of excusing harmful behavior, but as a way of freeing yourself from the burden of resentment. You forgive not for others' sake, but for your own peace and freedom. You understand that forgiveness doesn't require forgetting or reconciling. It simply requires releasing the charge around past events so they can't continue to control your present and future. You learn to differentiate between forgiveness and reconciliation. You can forgive someone while still choosing not to have them in your life. You can release resentment while still maintaining appropriate boundaries. You develop discernment about when to engage and when to withdraw, when to fight and when to surrender, when to hold on and when to let go. This wisdom can't be learned from books, it can only be developed through experience. You become skillful in the art of conscious relating. You learn to communicate your needs clearly, to set boundaries lovingly, to conflict constructively, and to love without losing yourself. You understand that healthy relationships require two whole people choosing to grow together, not two incomplete people trying to complete each other. You stop looking for relationships to fill your voids and start looking for relationships that celebrate your wholeness. You develop the ability to be alone without being lonely. You understand that your relationship with yourself is the foundation for all other relationships. You become someone you enjoy spending time with. You stop seeking validation from others and start generating it from within. Your worth isn't determined by others' opinions or behaviors. Your value is inherent, not earned. You develop authentic self-love, not the superficial kind that ignores your flaws, but the mature kind that accepts your humanity while encouraging your growth. You become your own best friend and your own wise mentor. You understand that self-care isn't selfish, it's necessary. You can't pour from an empty cup. Taking care of yourself enables you to show up more fully for others. You learn to listen to your body's wisdom. You understand that your body is constantly giving you information about what serves you and what doesn't. You develop sensitivity to energy and learn to trust your physical responses. You become attuned to the subtle rhythms of your soul. When you need solitude and when you need connection, when you need to push forward and when you need to rest, when you need to speak and when you need to listen. You develop a regular spiritual practice that keeps you connected to your deeper self. Whether it's meditation, prayer, journaling, or time in nature, you prioritize activities that nourish your soul. You understand that spiritual growth is not a destination but a way of traveling. Every day offers new opportunities to practice presence, compassion, and authenticity. Every interaction is a chance to embody your highest self. You become a student of life. You approach each experience with curiosity rather than judgment. You're always asking, what can this teach me? Rather than why is this happening to me? You develop humility, not the kind that diminishes you, but the kind that recognizes how much you don't know and how much there is to learn. You become comfortable being a beginner in new areas of growth. You understand that healing isn't linear. There will be setbacks, regressions, and moments when you feel like you've lost all progress. This is normal and necessary. Healing happens in spirals, not straight lines. You learn to be patient with your own process. You understand that deep transformation takes time and that rushing it often creates more problems than it solves. You trust the timing of your unfolding. You develop compassion for all the versions of yourself you've been. You understand that you did the best you could with the awareness you had at the time. You stop judging your past self and start honoring your journey. You understand that your struggles don't make you special, but how you handle them might. Everyone faces challenges. What matters is what you do with those challenges, how you use them to grow and serve. You become someone who can hold space for others' pain without trying to fix it or take it on as your own. You understand that sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is simply witnessing their experience without judgment. You develop the ability to be present with difficulty your own and others without rushing to make it better. You understand that some experiences need to be felt fully before they can be released. You learn to trust the intelligence of emotions. You understand that feelings are information, not instructions. You can feel angry without acting aggressively, sad without becoming depressed, or fearful without making fear-based decisions. You develop emotional resilience not by avoiding difficult feelings, but by learning to move through them skillfully. You understand that emotions are temporary visitors, not permanent residents. You become a master of your internal climate. While you can't control what happens to you, you can influence how you respond to what happens. This is where your true power lies. You understand that peace isn't the absence of conflict, it's the presence of acceptance. You can be at peace even in the midst of challenges because you're not at war with reality. You develop unshakable inner security. Your sense of safety comes not from controlling external circumstances, but from trusting your ability to handle whatever arises. You understand that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's feeling the fear and taking aligned action anyway. You become intimate with uncertainty without being paralyzed by it. You learn to make friends with him. You understand that everything changes, including pain. This too shall pass becomes not just a saying, but a lived truth that brings comfort in difficult times. You develop appreciation for the present moment, knowing it's the only moment you actually have. You stop living in the past or future and start inhabiting your life as it's happening. You understand that gratitude isn't about pretending everything is wonderful. It's about finding genuine appreciation for what is good while acknowledging what is difficult. You can be grateful and grieving simultaneously. You become someone who can find meaning in the meaningless, hope in the hopeless, and love in the loveless. This isn't naive optimism, it's spiritual maturity. You understand that your suffering serves a purpose beyond your personal understanding. Even if you never know why certain things happened, you can trust that they're part of a larger intelligence at work. You develop faith, not blind belief, but earned trust based on repeatedly seeing how challenges ultimately serve your growth. You've lived through enough difficulties to know you can survive whatever comes next. You become someone who can comfort others, not with empty platitudes, but with the solid presence of someone who has walked through darkness and found their way to light. Your very being becomes a testimony to resilience. You understand that your healed places become your places of power, where you've been wounded and recovered. You develop special sensitivity and strength that allows you to help others with similar struggles. You realize that your soul contract was never about avoiding pain, it was about learning to transform pain into wisdom, love, and service. This transformation is the alchemy your soul came here to master. And in this understanding, you find the deepest peace of all, knowing that nothing you've experienced has been wasted. Every tear has watered seeds of compassion. Every betrayal has taught you discernment. Every loss has revealed what can never be lost. Your soul contract is fulfilled not when life becomes easy, but when you become wise enough to find the sacred within every experience, when you can look at your entire journey, the beautiful and the brutal, and say with genuine gratitude, "This is exactly what I needed to become who I am." The universe never abandoned you. It initiated you into the mystery of existence, prepared you for your unique mission, and loved you enough to let you break so you could discover your infinite capacity to heal. In your healing, you become a healer. In your awakening, you become a light for others still finding their way. This is the ultimate purpose of your soul contract: to transform personal suffering into universal service, individual healing into collective evolution, and your own awakening into a beacon of possibility for all who will follow in your footsteps. The journey continues, each day offering new opportunities to embody the wisdom you've gained, to live the love you've learned, and to serve the purpose for which your soul chose this remarkable, challenging, beautiful human experience.